for an amount totaling $235 million. And this is the charge that is against the land. This is the document by the lenders for the hospital, and it shows in detail the figure of $235 million. This is some $110 million above what they have told the people. Now, in response to a parliamentary question, the Minister of Finance said that he knew nothing about it. But here it is. This is the charge document. And it shows a $235 million charge against the People's Hospital. And I think we have no choice in the opposition but to call this the upside-down hospital, because the hospital debt will be on top of the people's heads for decades to come. And let us make it plain. If you borrow $125,000 from First Caribbean Bank to build a house, would you permit the bank to put a lien against your property for twice the amount? It would clearly mean that you are either you have received the additional money or you intend to receive the additional money. And either way, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, this act on the part of the hospital developer has been done with the knowledge of the government, as the charge clearly shows. You'll see who signs the charge, and it amounts to a vicious betrayal of what was sold to the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands. The question remains, what is the additional $110 million for? And further, have they drawn down on the money? And whose pockets is it in? Government or developer? The people would like to know. I would defer to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition for further comments, and copies of this document is available to members of the press if they so choose to examine the document.
Thank you, Honorable Panel. I think it is important for the people of this country to understand that we're getting 60 beds. The government told us that those 60 beds would cost us $125 million. We know that the British Virgin Islands was able to get 120 beds for $60 million, where they were able to get twice as much for half as much as the government promised. Now we're learning that not only have we been given a 6 for a 9, but now we are understanding that that 6 that we thought we had actually is a 0 that we've just cut off and tried to make into a 6. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, is that the people of our country, we know about we know about the $90-some million in debt that we currently have. Debt is simply defined as an obligation to provide some future economic benefit to another person. Anyone that registers a charge to ensure that if the borrower or the landowner does not make payment or provide consideration, they will have charge over that asset to be able to liquidate to recover that money. So what that is saying is that the company that will operate the hospitals will have the ability, if the government doesn't pay, or that your children and your grandchildren don't pay, they will have the ability to take the hospitals, sell it, to recover their $235 million. And if they don't get that $235 million, any addition, you're still going to be obligated to pay them. This is a clear act of betrayal. And I believe that when you consider that 60 beds at $235 million amounts to $3.9 million per bed, I think it further shows you where our country's assets are being mismanaged, where poor decisions are being made on behalf of the people of this country, and that we have a government that clearly is ill-equipped and unwilling to manage the country's affairs prudently and honestly. I believe that to take this into context, it is important to understand the backdrop from which we come. The hospitals that were proposed 5 years ago and their cost, and for that I will again defer to Honorable Saldo, who is the former Minister for Health and Education, where he can highlight and give clear understanding as to where we were in 2003 with respect to the development of hospitals in the Turks and Caicos and the costs associated with them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leader. Mr. Leader, when I saw that charge document this morning, I was flabbergasted. I mean, I was speechless. I could not believe that a project that has been reduced by some 38 beds could see such an astronomical increase in cost. I invited, as Minister of Health, I invited persons to tender to build these two hospitals. And I have here a document proposal from PRA International. This is a Canadian-based firm. This was the highest bid. This is the bid for the Grand Turk Hospital. And it has here an outline of what the hospital was going to look like in Grand Turk. And this hospital was going to be built for $16 million, fully equipped, 38 beds in Grand Turk Health Complex. In Providenciales, we were looking at a 60-bed facility, much larger, with 3 operating theaters, all of the diagnostics, and we were looking at 60 beds, a much larger facility. And we were looking at about $25 million to build the hospital in Providenciales. So overall, we're looking at about $41 million to provide for the 2 hospitals, certainly under $50 million. But what we see, and under the People's Democratic Movement,